NASCAR is brought to you by DeWalt.
Welcome to Loudon, New Hampshire, a cold and overcast day. The race in a very difficult weekend.
In the memory of their fallen comrades, Adam Petty and Kenny Irwin. Gentlemen, start your engines and Godspeed.
Well, more than literal grey cloud hanging over the weekend. 8 weeks to the day and in almost exactly the same spot where Adam Petty was killed practicing for the Bush race. 30-year-old Kenny Irwin lost his life in Friday practice, hitting the wall at nearly 150 miles an hour. He suffered multiple injuries as the car flipped onto its roof and was pronounced dead in hospital some hours later. Twice a NASCAR Series Rookie of the Year. The move to the Cu team for this year looked to be putting his career back on the right track. And for many, he was one of the brighter stars for the future of this championship. Kenny Irwin, who lost his life on Friday, will be very much missed by his friends, his family, the fans, and the others in a NASCAR paddock. Well, the NASCAR race at New Hampshire is always the biggest sporting event in New England. 101,000 fans inside the New Hampshire International Speedway, with Rusty Wallace and John Andretti on the front row of the grid, and those two, like every other one of the 43 starters, carrying a memoriam sticker for their fallen friend. Mark Martin, who knows a thing or two about sadness, heartbreak and the death of those close to you, starting on the inside of the second row. Tony Stewart on the outside of row 3. Kenny Schrader and Jeff Gordon the outside of row 4. Gordon, 3 times a winner in New Hampshire. Reigning champion Dale Jarrett starts outside of Jerry Nadeau. Another great qualifying run from the youngster whose career finally is starting to live up to some of the promise that it showed early on. Looking further down the order, you can see Bodine and Rudd there ahead of Bill Elliott and Jeremy Mayfield on row 8. Jeffrey Bodine and Jimmy Spencer on row 9. Kenny Wallace and Bobby Labonte on row 10. Robert Presley Jr. and Matt Kenseth on row 11. Kenseth, of course, also a winner this year, winning the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Steve Park, Dale Earnhardt, Mike Bliss and Dale Earnhardt Jr. next up, and both Earnhardt's winners this year. Darrell Waltrip qualifying well in the 66 car ahead of Kevin LePage, Dave Blaney. Joe Nemechek, who of course handed over the 42 car at the end of last year, resigning his drive, the one that Kenny Irwin took over. Well, further down the order, Sterling Marlin did not qualify on Saturday, but he did take a provisional to start from the inside of row 19 for the race, and he of course was the second of the Cu drivers. The team withdrawing Kenny Irwin's car, and Sterling Marlin not running in qualifying on Saturday as a mark of respect. Ed Berrier, the final man in the field, starts 43rd. Dave Marcus, the one driver who didn't make the cut. Well, it's cold, dull, grey, overcast. All in all, the weather particularly reflecting the mood of the whole NASCAR field. A lot of them thinking on Saturday, why are we here? Why are we doing this? But despite the loss of Kenny Irwin, of course, the championship will continue, the sport will continue. Questions have been raised about the safety of the New Hampshire track, which, unlike some of the other super speedways, has got very sharp corners with low banking. Well, they're ready to go. Let's watch them start. John Andretti making the first move, towing up behind Rusty Wallace, the first change of lead. Right behind them, Ricky Craven's Chevy also lining up Wallace's Ford. Pontiac, Ford and Chevrolet, the top three cars, all different manufacturers, and Craven goes through easily. From Mark Martin's viewpoint, Rusty Wallace having a little bobble mid-corner there as they come to the line for the end of the first lap. John Andretti leads. Andretti, of course, in the 43 Petty car. Kyle Petty in the Hot Wheels machine, not at the track this weekend. He just felt it was too soon to come back to the scene of such heartbreak for him. Well, Ricky Craven passing Andretti. And again, Mark Martin shows us Rusty Wallace looking to go inside. Very flat turns, these 4 turns at Loudon, New Hampshire. Just 12 degrees of banking. That's a lot on a short track, but not on this one. A 1 mile oval. And very much long straights and squared off corners, and the drivers feeling that perhaps now, with suspected throttle failure being possibly the cause of both fatalities in the last 2 months of this track, that maybe something should be done about banking the corners higher and maybe rounding off the turns a little more to make a throttle failure going into a corner more survivable. Onboard camera from Ricky Rudd there. Momentary loss of control from him mid-corner, but he manages to hold on to it as he follows Jeff Gordon. Little tap in the back from the Caterpillar car of Ward Burton. Ward getting in underneath him. He loses a couple of spots. Back down in 14th, Dale Jarrett, the reigning champion. And DJ not qualifying particularly well. Will have to work his way up the order fairly quickly, because Ricky Craven is certainly starting to get a jump away from the rest of the field. John Andretti, second place. Rusty Wallace, Tony Stewart, Mark Martin and the rest. But Bobby Labonte in the wall, and hard in the wall, fire under the bonnet as he throws away the netting. And there is the John Deere Ford of Chad Little. And he will leave the Roush Racing team at the end of the year, Chad Little. And he has clearly made contact with Labonte. The Kellogg's crew hopping over the pit wall to put the fire out. Labonte limping away, racing incidentally with a fractured bone in his leg already. He was on crutches all weekend, and so that won't have helped his demeanor much, but he's okay out of that one. Well, he will be taken to the Infield Medical Centre as a compulsory safety measure, and Chad Little's car there with Bobby Labonte's further down the racetrack, still smouldering away as the safety crew get to work. Let's have a look, see if we can pick up what happens here. Look for the Kellogg's car. In fact, it's the John Deere car that gets sideways first, tags the back of Labonte's machine, and they're both very firmly into the wall. Broken line there, igniting on the hot exhaust headers, and the underbonnet conflagration looking perhaps more spectacular than it was dangerous. Again, just picking up the last stages of it here, and Chad Little taking a very heavy slam there, with Labonte's car adding to the weight of his own machine that needed to be stopped by that concrete retaining wall. And that's a big old hit. Well, Labonte's car definitely out. Race is over for the 5 machine, but Chad Little's machine will be rescued and taken back behind the wall in the hope of getting it back out later. Looks pretty flat down that right-hand side, doesn't it? Tyres standing well away from the completely flattened sheet metal. Well, after 11 laps, it's Ricky Craven who still holds the lead as the first yellow comes out. More in a moment. And still the race leader way ahead. Midfield there, you saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car battling with Kenny Schrader. That's for 15th place. Earnhardt Jr., twice a winner already this year. Not so far able to run at front-running pace. In fact, 3 times a winner if you count his win in the Winston, the non-championship race at Lowe's Motor Speedway at Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm sure he does, certainly financially he does. But Earnhardt Jr. not able to find the setup he needs here. Neither is his father's Richard Childress teammate Mike Skinner in the wall hard. Well, they've not long cleaned up from the early incident involving Terry Labonte. And Skinner spun out. He's hit it hard with the rear end and slapped it with the left front as well. And that's going behind the wall for sure. Richard Childress Racing Team. Well, he was battling Bobby Hamilton for 25th place at that stage. And there'll be plenty of work for the boys behind the wall when he gets there. Skinner wasting no time getting the car in. Yellow flags are out, and so he's trying to get to the line as quickly as possible to avoid losing yet another extra lap. No question about it. Straight behind the wall, the spotter will have seen exactly what state the car was in if Mike Skinner needed any telling, and I'm sure he probably didn't. Around he goes to the Richard Childress Racing garage, and there will be plenty for them to be getting along with us. The field now streams into the pits. Now the question of course is, do you take a full set of tyres? Do you just take right side tyres? They've only done 24 laps. And do you try and go for track position or go for the full tyre set? John Andretti going for the full 4 set and being topped up by the fuel man as well. Jeff Burton here, the 99 car, also going 4 tyres and being topped up, and that looks to be pretty much the popular choice. The leader Ricky Craven also in, as most of the field have come. Not much to lose at this stage by getting yourself freshly primed. So yellow flag is out for the second time, and this is how it happened. Mike Skinner, look for the car. Well, you see the end of it there. Bobby Hamilton's car in the middle of the frame, the 4 Kodak machine. And contact between the two of them, pitching Skinner into a spin, initially hitting the wall, as you can see there, with left rear. Crew chief Larry McReynolds on his way around to the garage with the rest of them. Lap 38, ready to go. And there you could hear Ricky Craven's spotter setting him up ready to nail the gas away from the starter stand. Craven leading then from Rusty Wallace and Jeremy Mayfield. Ward Burton 4th at the restart from Ricky Rudd. Jeffrey Bodine also well up at this stage. Dale Jarrett, Steve Park, Mike Bliss in 9th place ahead of Darrell Waltrip in his last visit here in July. W, of course, retiring at the end of this year. Well, the two teammates there in the Penske Chronofus operation. Rusty Wallace in 2, Jeremy Mayfield in 12. Will they be working together now to try and stay on the tail of Ricky Craven? You bet they will. Jeremy Mayfield clearly feels that he can go quicker than Rusty and maybe tow him along. The only thing is they want to hold each other up while they decide who is the faster of the pair. Well, that's how they started. Rusty in 9th, Jeremy down 19th place in Mike Chronofus's car. And there is Jeff Gordon, 4-time champion, 3 times winner here. He's down in 12th place. Tony Stewart close behind him as well. And the 25 car there is Jerry Nadeau in the MichaelHooligan.com Chevrolet. Right in the middle there. Right behind him he's got the 36 car as well of Ken Schrader, the M&M's Pontiac. And Pontiac ahead of him is that of Tony Stewart, Joe Gibbs racing car. All changes of position there between two brothers. Ward Burton, who we ride with now, just passed by Jeffrey Bodine. And coming up behind them, Dale Jarrett. Well, that's a change for fourth place. Still within sight of Mayfield and Wallace, but they are being left behind at this stage. Riding in sixth spot with Dale Jarrett. There is Jeff Burton's pit crew, the 99 team, further back down the order. Lap 69 now, and Warburton still battling with Dale Jarrett and with Jeffrey Bodine. And this is turning into quite a group here. There you can see Ricky Craven, the race leader, being caught and passed by this fast-moving pack. Looks like Craven's pit stop gamble during the yellow did not work. So Bodine leading now from Rusty Wallace, 60 out front replacing 50. Jeff Burton saw his crew watching with interest earlier, and changes they've made to the car in that first pit stop, allowing him to work his way up into third from Dale Jarrett. Ricky Rudd in fifth place and Tony Stewart sixth. All of them now ahead of the man who led from the start, Ricky Craven. Jeff Bodine leading the race, qualified in 17th spot, so he's had a very good run so far. And Jeremy Mayfield looking to put a move now on the 50 car. Well, can he get past Ricky Craven as well and join this group up ahead of him? Dale Jarrett is passed by Tony Stewart. So Stewart goes up into fifth spot. That's the view from DJ's roof cam, and as he slides wide, look at the tight line being run right behind him by Ricky Rudd in the 28 car. Rudd also sneaks inside. Looking back then from Ricky Rudd, there is Dale Jarrett. So he loses 2 places in that lap. And there again you can see the group ahead. So Jarrett just outside the 6th position at the moment, being held by Ricky Rudd. Jeffrey Bodine leading, Rusty Wallace and Ward Burton second and third. Tony Stewart next up, and then Rudd, who we ride with now, and Dale Jarrett. So 2 retirements so far, and the John Deere Ford of Chad Little still well behind the wall, as is the Lowe's Home Improvement Chevrolet of Mike Skinner. So there you go, with 72 of the 300 laps gone. Jeffrey Bodine from 17th leads the race from poleman Rusty Wallace. Now we move ahead, picking up the action again on lap 85. Bodine still leading, but the pit window is now wide open and heading the charge down pit road, as they've been racing under green since their last pit stop under yellow. Ward Burton comes in for the first green flag stop of the race. Right side tyres go on, making a great deal of care to make sure they get back to the pit wall, of course. Fuel going in as they come round to the left side. No other changes, it looks like there. Well, Ward Burton in the leading group, but in comes the man who is the race leader at this stage. Jeffrey Bodine's Chevrolet pulls up to the power team pit. Right tyres go on. Ooh, stray wheel just rescued in time. And they are really working hard to keep their man in his track position. Some drivers staying out when the red flag came out to keep track position, some coming into the pits to be ready to go fully serviced and fueled, and that's why there's such a disparity between who is staying out and who's been in already. You would expect to see that with long sustained green flag periods perhaps evening itself out, but they haven't had that so far in this race. Race leader Jeremy Mayfield in. And that leaves Dale Jarrett.